I didn't like that outfit you had on yesterday. I'm like, how do you know?
And I was really inspired by Africa and
Congratulations, you got married, and you did that without anybody knowing.
The world thought they knew Beyoncé. They thought they had seen every evolution, every transformation, every seismic shift she had in her. But when the Renaissance era arrived, America realized they didn't know her at all. Behind the flashing lights and global headlines, Beyoncé was quietly building the most personal, daring, and rebellious chapter of her life. This wasn't just an album. It wasn't just a tour. It was a resurrection, the reclaiming of herself after years of public pressure, personal heartbreak, and silent battles the world never heard about. In this era, Beyoncé wasn't creating for charts or critics. She was creating for survival, for healing, for liberation. And it all began in a moment when she felt her world closing in. This is the hidden backstory, the secret era behind Renaissance, the era that changed Beyoncé forever, the era that America never saw coming, and the era that almost didn't happen at all. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you never miss any of our upcoming documentaries. Before the world heard a single note of Renaissance, Beyoncé was quietly unraveling. Fame had swallowed her life whole. Every headline dissected, every rumor amplified, every decision criticized. Behind the perfection the public expected, she was exhausted, overwhelmed, and painfully human. The weight of being Beyoncé, the icon, the mother, the wife, the leader, the standard, was crushing her spirit. She was trapped between who she was and who the world demanded she be. She hid her stress behind flawless performances, but the cracks were widening. Her life felt scripted, mechanical, controlled by responsibilities she never asked for. She had given everything to music, to legacy, to her fans. But privately, she wondered, what do I have left for myself? The breaking point came silently. No headlines, no interviews, just a woman at the peak of power, questioning everything. That moment would ignite the spark that birthed Renaissance, a revolution born from pressure, pain, and the need to breathe again. While the world assumed Beyoncé lived in an untouchable world of luxury and perfection, behind closed doors, she was facing emotional battles far more complex than anyone imagined. Her home, once a sanctuary, became the center of tension, healing, and massive change. Balancing her marriage, her identity as a mother, and the weight of global fame created an emotional storm. She wanted to protect her children from the world that never gave her privacy. She wanted to prove she could rise above her pain without breaking apart. Every night, when the cameras were off and the crowd were gone, Beyoncé confronted her deepest insecurities. Was she enough? Could she reinvent herself again? Could she rebuild her confidence after betrayal, exhaustion, and years of self-sacrifice? This hidden emotional war inside her own home became the foundation of the Renaissance era, a decision to rebuild not just her art, but her entire life. What most people don't know is that the Renaissance era began with a devastating loss. Beyoncé's Uncle Johnny, the man who shaped her early love for music, style, and identity, passed away. He was more than family. He was her creative soulmate, the person who made her feel seen long before the world ever applauded her. Losing him shattered her in ways she never discussed publicly. Johnny represented freedom, self-expression, boldness, qualities Beyoncé had slowly abandoned under the weight of superstardom. His absence created a silence that echoed through her entire life. But in that grief, something awakened. Beyoncé realized she wanted to honor him. She wanted to create an era that celebrated joy, queerness, black culture, house music, and everything he embodied. This wasn't just an album, it was a tribute, a love letter, a revival of the fearless Beyoncé he helped create. Renaissance became her way of keeping him alive and reclaiming the parts of herself she lost. After more than 2 decades at the top, Beyoncé faced the pressure every legend eventually encounters. What next? She had achieved everything: Grammys, sold-out tours, cultural dominance. But with every success came louder demands. Fans expected perfection. Critics expected reinvention. The industry expected her to lead, always. Reinventing herself wasn't just an artistic choice anymore. It was a requirement. And that pressure became suffocating. Behind the scenes, Beyoncé felt the fear of becoming predictable, irrelevant, or too safe. She knew the world hated seeing their idols falter. She knew she had no room for failure. But the truth was, she was terrified. Reinvention meant vulnerability, risk, and the possibility of disappointing millions. The Renaissance era forced her to confront that fear. Instead of chasing trends, Beyoncé made a bold choice. She would reinvent herself on her own terms, for her own healing, for her own joy. And that decision changed everything. For years, Beyoncé's voice had been her superpower. Powerful, recognizable, unmatched. But during the years before Renaissance, she faced a fear she never admitted publicly. The fear that her voice was changing. Time, touring, pregnancy, stress, and fatigue had taken a toll. She wasn't losing her ability. She was losing control. Some days her voice felt strong. Other days it felt unfamiliar. And for someone who built her identity on mastery, that unpredictability terrified her. She wondered if the world would notice, if critics would strike, if fans would compare her to the voice she once had. But instead of spiraling, she turned inward. She rebuilt her technique, healed her body, retrained her breath, and reconnected to the emotional core of her singing. Renaissance wasn't just vocal artistry. It was Beyoncé reclaiming confidence in a voice shaped by age, motherhood, pain, and wisdom. This era wasn't about being perfect. It was about being powerful in a new way. Everyone expected Beyoncé to follow a certain formula: cinematic visuals, high-concept rollouts, and chart-ready singles. But she shattered all expectations. No music videos at launch. No traditional marketing. No predictable pop direction. Renaissance was a radical pivot into house, disco, ballroom, queer culture, and late-night dance energy. It was a sound deeply rooted in Black American history, but far removed from what mainstream audiences expected from her. This wasn't a safe era. It wasn't built for radio. It wasn't made to break streaming records. It was made to free her. But taking this risk meant facing one terrifying possibility. What if fans didn't understand it? What if critics dismissed it? What if the world called it a misstep? Beyoncé wasn't creating a hit era. She was creating a healing era, a celebration, a rebirth. Renaissance was her boldest gamble, and she was willing to risk everything to make it real. Before launching Renaissance, Beyoncé disappeared. No interviews, no public appearances, no explanations, just silence. And that silence made the world louder. Rumors spread online. Fans speculated about her next move. Critics whispered that she had nothing new to offer. Industry insiders wondered if she was intentionally delaying or internally struggling. But Beyoncé wasn't hiding. She was transforming. In that quiet space, she battled self-doubt, perfectionism, and the pressure of living up to a legacy she never asked for. She wrote, rewrote, and erased entire sections of the album. She experimented with new sounds late into the night. She created a world, not a project. Through silence, she found clarity. This was the storm's eye, the moment before her boldest release. And when she finally emerged, the world understood. Beyoncé didn't disappear because she was lost. She disappeared because she was rebuilding herself into something unstoppable. As the Renaissance era roared across America, Beyoncé reached a breaking point the world never saw coming. She had carried the weight of expectations for decades, but this era demanded something even heavier: reinvention. And reinvention meant tearing down old versions of herself she once relied on. She faced pressure from the industry, from fans, from critics, but the loudest pressure came from within. Nights blurred into mornings as she pushed her body and mind to limits she hadn't touched in years. She questioned whether she could still rise to the level she set for herself long ago. Behind the flawless outfits, behind the thunderous applause, Beyoncé was fighting exhaustion, fear, and the haunting thought that perfection might destroy her. But this moment of breaking would become the turning point of her transformation. What the world didn't know was that the Renaissance wasn't born from power, it was born from pain. Behind every glittering performance was a storm Beyoncé kept hidden. Cameras captured smiles, confidence, and command, but backstage told a different story. There were days she performed through migraines, knee pain, vocal strain, and emotional fatigue. Her team watched her push through physical limits that would break most artists, but she insisted on delivering for her fans. Each night, she transformed the exhaustion into energy the moment the lights hit the stage. But deep down, she felt the emotional cracks widening. The pressure to protect her family, guard her privacy, and maintain her icon status ate at her constantly. The more the world demanded, the more she felt herself stretching thin. Yet she never let the storm show. That duality, chaos behind the curtains, power in front, became the secret heartbeat of the Renaissance era. Beyoncé wasn't just performing, she was surviving. And every show was proof that she refused to let the storm win. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss any of our upcoming documentaries.